Today we are going to discuss the concept of production function. When we talk about production, it means we always think about making something material or tangible. In a common layman language, what is meant by production? So production means conversion of raw material into finished product. So when we say that conversion of raw material into finished product, we always think about making something tangible or making something material things. But in economics, the concept of production is defined in a broader sense. In economics, production means creation or addition of utility. It means when a man provides services to anybody, in that situation, there is a creation or addition of utility from the services. That's why we can say that services can also be produced. So, in economics, both tangible as well as intangible things are also produced. So, when a doctor provides services to his client, a teacher provides services to student, it means there is a creation or addition of utility from the services provided by doctor and by the teacher. That's why service can also be produced in economics. Another important thing about production is the simple nature law is that man can produce anything, but man cannot produce a matter or base product. We can produce cloth, but we cannot produce cotton. We can produce furniture, but we cannot produce wood. It is given by the nature. So everything is we got from nature, and lastly, everything is going to mix in the nature. This is the law of nature. But when we say about production function, so what is meant by production function? Production function is nothing but the functional relationship between input and output. Now, what is meant by input? There are four factors of production. What is meant by factors of production? Factors of production means all those factors on which production depends. There are four factors of production: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. These four factors are the inputs, and when we utilize these factors, then we get something from it which we call as a output. So every producer is always tries to maximize his output with the utilization of minimum quantity of input. This functional relationship between input and output is called as production function. That's why here it is also given the maximum amount of output can be produced in a given quantities of inputs under the given state of technical knowledge. It means technology remains constant, and when technology remains constant and we get maximum amount of output by utilizing the minimum amount of input, it is called as a production function. Symbolically, we can say it as a q is equals to function of a b c d up to n, where q is the quantity of output. It is the functional relationship of input a b c d up to n are the inputs. Before going to start the law of variable proportion, because there are two laws given in the production function: law of variable proportion and law of return to scale. Today we are going to discuss the law of variable proportion in the production function. But before understanding both these laws, firstly we must have to discuss about the periodicity aspect. There are three different kinds of periods: very short period, and long period. See, all these three periodicity concepts are very important to understand both these laws: law of variable proportion and law of return to scale. Very short period is the period of few hours. Now In these few hours, it is not possible for us to change land, labor, capital, or entrepreneur. That's why all these factors are remains constant in very short period. So input is a constant. That's why production is also remains constant in very short period. But in short period is the period of few months. Now in few months there is a possibility of change in the raw material. We can also change labor in short period. That's why some factors are fixed in short period and some factors are variable. So due to change in the variable factor, there is a scope to increase in the production in short period. That's why production is change in the short period but in the small proportion. In long period, it is a period of few years. In these few years, we can change land, labor, capital, and we can also change entrepreneur. So all factors are variable factor in the long period. That's why in the long period, production can also be changed in the large proportion. Now we are going to discuss the law of variable proportion. The law of variable proportion is the law which is related with the short period. As we discussed earlier, in short period, some factors are fixed and some factors are variable. That's why it is given. This law examines the production function with one factor variable keeping quantities of other factors fixed. So it means there are certain factors which are remains fixed and there are certain factors which are variable in this law. At least one factor is the variable factor to examine this law, because this law is related with the short period. This law is also called as law of diminishing return. To better understanding of this law, three major concepts are given in this law, that is total product, average product and marginal product. Total product is nothing but the total production which we get by utilization of amount of input. Average product is the total product per unit of variable factor. Formula to calculate average product is equals to total product upon quantity. Marginal product. Marginal product is the change in total product per unit of variable factor. Formula to calculate marginal product is equals to delta Tp upon delta Q. Delta is the sign of change. So we can say it as a marginal product is equals to change in total product upon change in quantity. To better understanding of this law, we discussed one schedule. In the given schedule, there are six columns: land, labor, total product, average product, marginal product, and the stages. This law is divided into three stages: law of increasing return, law of diminishing return, and law of negative return. But before going to discuss this schedule, firstly examine first two columns, that is land and labor. Now, in the given schedule, land is remains fixed, whereas labor is a variable factor. So one factor is variable and one factor is fixed factor, because the law already I told you this law is related with the short period. Now when we increase the number of labor in the given land, so our total product increases from 0 to 2, 6, 12. But after a certain extent, when we utilize seventh labor, our total product is going to be decreased. Why this happen? Because we utilize more than capacity variable factor in the fixed factor. That's why our total product decreases. Now average product is also increases up to a certain extent, but after that average product decreases. But the important thing is that average product is remains fixed. Marginal product, how to compute marginal product? Delta Tp upon delta Q. Now when we discuss the total product of first labor and second labor. Now first labor's total product is 2 and second labor's total product is 6. It means there is change in the total production of 4 and there is a change in the labor of 1. So 4 upon 1, that is our marginal product of second labor, that is 4. So this kind of way we can calculate marginal product. But the important thing about marginal product is that marginal product increases up to maximum level, and after a certain period of time marginal product is decreases, and at the end marginal product is negative. Now why marginal product is negative? Because our total product decreases. That's why this law is divided into three different stages. First stage is up to fourth labor. Now it is called as law of increasing return. Now why it is called as law of increasing return? Because in the first stage ends when our average product is maximum. Now our average product is maximum when labor is 4. This stage is called as law of increasing return because as we increase number of labor in the fixed factor, that is on land, our total product is constantly increasing, and this stage ends when average product is maximum. Second stage is called as law of diminishing return. Now why this stage is called as law of diminishing return? Because as soon as we increase, this stage ends at sixth labor. When we increase fifth labor on fixed factor, our total product increases by 2 units. When we increase sixth labor, our total product remains constant. Second stage ends when total product is maximum because here we utilize